Oh, Christ, we can't.
Why not?
Those types who are coming to help with the magazine, Nick and the Lone Ranger, and that chap who sent me those terrific poems, Humphrey Taylor, and some peculiar American cat-loving freak who actually wants to help on the financial side. They're coming for coffee in 10 minutes.
That's all right. We'll be extremely quick. Like lightning. We'll be finished long before they arrive.
But I don't want to be extremely quick, like lightning. I want to be extremely slow. Forever, in fact.
Forever?
Forever. Christ, it's Stout! Hubert Stout!
Who?
That must be his new wife, Charlotte. They've only just got married. They must be staying the night in one of the guest rooms. Actually, to see Hubert Stout. Today of all days, it's like an omen, a portent. Come on, Marigold, we've got to speak to him. I'll show him Humphrey Taylor's poems and the first draft of the editorial. Ready? Oh, hello. This is, I'm terribly sorry.
Martin Musgrove.
No.
Oh, is there not going to be a meeting about the magazine then?
Oh, yes, but look, I'm terribly sorry. We won't be a minute, actually, but there's someone we've got to see very urgently, so go on up. If anybody else arrives, tell them we'll be right back. Put a record on if you want.
Right.
Truly being.
What the hell do you want?
I wanted to have a few words with you, Mr. Stout.
What about?
Well, about starting a new literary magazine.
A new literary magazine? You interrupt a man who's just about to embark on a serious coupling with the love of his life to talk about a new literary magazine? You'd better rethink your priorities, young man. Hope that's not why you've come.
Stop posturing, Hubert, and invite them in.
Come in, come in. You'll pay for this. Sit down. Be succinct.
We're going to call it The Common Pursuit. We want your support and advice.
And a new poem.
Why? Because I'm famous?
No, because you're the only poet worth reading since Auden.
That's true. And that's why I don't have to give my poems away to little literary magazines.
But without magazines like The Common Pursuit, there won't be any new poets. At least of consequence.
Stuart Thorne not here, then?
Oh, no. They just dashed off somewhere. But they'll be back in a moment. He said to wait. Marvelous stuff, isn't it? Do you like Vivaldi?
Yes, but I like Bach more, which this is.
Really? Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh. Well, you're probably right. I had some idea it was that Vivaldi piece in F major. I wonder which Bach it is then. It sounds terribly like Vivaldi to me. What is it precisely?
Suite number 3.
Vivaldi, you mean?
No. Bach, of course.
Oh, well, you must have a terrific feeling for music. I only recognize stuff when I've heard it hundreds of times before. And then I get it wrong, it turns out. You're Humphrey Wentworth, aren't you?
Taylor. Humphrey Taylor.
Taylor, yes. And you're doing history, aren't you?
Moral sciences.
Of course. But you're on your last year, aren't you?
Second year.
Huh. Well, I'm Martin Musgrove. I'm second year, too, in English. Stuart told me you were interested in his new literary magazine. I think it's a terrific idea, don't you? Just what Cambridge needs, a new literary magazine. He told me he was thinking of calling it The Common Pursuit, after that book, you know, called,
The Common Pursuit?
That's the one. By F.D. Leavis, isn't it?
F.R.
What?
F.R. Leavis.
Oh. Well, I won't be involved in the literary side. I haven't got any talent at all, you see. I've pretty well decided to go into publishing after I leave here. So I'll help out on the business side with subscriptions, advertising, raising money, that sort of thing. But I suppose you've written something for it.
I sent in some poems.
Is he going to publish them?
No. I've come to get them back.
What didn't he like about them?
He liked them. It's me. I don't like them.
Really? Why?
Because they make me feel sick.
Oh. And what do you plan to do when you leave, then?
I don't plan to leave. I'll spend the rest of my life here. I pretty well have to, don't I?
Really? Why?
I intend to be a professional philosopher. You can't be a professional philosopher except in a place like this.
That means you'll have to get a first-class degree, doesn't it? At least.
Of course.
That's quite a prediction, really.
It wasn't meant to be. More like an obituary, in fact. But if I'm going to institutionalize myself, I might as well do it in one of the better institutions.
Oh, God. It's Erica, isn't it? Look, I'm afraid I've made a balls up. Can't make coffee after all. Apologies, and more apologies. But you see, I have to be at an important meeting. The Common Pursuit. Student Thorns asked me to edit the theatre section, as I know less about it than anyone else. Meant to be there 5 minutes ago. Come back for tea this afternoon, why don't you? This room reeks of passion. What have you two been up to?
Who are you?
Look, could we hold on the metaphysical questions just for a moment? I'm about to do something exceptionally difficult. Oh, yes. Here they come, little buggers, bobbing from the iris to the pupil, and back again. Now the ripples of giddiness turning into tidal bloody waves of nausea.
Is it always like that when you smoke a cigarette?
Only the first,
Well, why have it then?
so I can get on to my next. By the third or fourth, I won't even notice I'm smoking.
Yes, but if the first few are so ghastly and you don't even notice the rest, why don't you just give up?
What for?
Well, for one thing, you might live longer.
Oh, no, you don't live longer. It just seems longer. As Sam Goldwyn said. One of the poets, anyway. Boys on their riverbanks, naked in the sad and dewy dawn. God, I hate queer literature. Dear Stuart Thorne, the enclosed poems are not for publication, at least at this stage, but glad to hear of new magazine. I hope it will be noted not only for its critical rigor, but also for its delicate, insensitive poetry. Delicate, insensitive? No, delicate and sensitive. Pity. Is it from? James Harrop, New College, Oxford. Well, that explains it. Probably not even queer. Just Oxford. I knew a Harrop once at prep school. Nappies, we called him. Nappies Harrop. He used to wear them at night because he was an inveterate bedwetter. I wonder if it's the same one. He was a creep too.
You shouldn't do that.
I say, this P.S. She can really turn it on old Marigold. Dirty old Marigold. Guess what she most of all, likes to put her lips around.
I said, don't do that.
Yes, well, I must say I've never seen anyone read anyone's private letters before, you know.
Oh, of course. This is a notable breakthrough. Doing it in public, so to speak.
Are you going to put that down?
Are you going to make me?
If I have to.
It's time I introduced myself. My name's Finchling. Nick Finchling. Special agent. I've adopted this flamboyant personality as a disguise. I'm going to be doing theatre criticism for Stewart's magazine, as I intend to be the Sunday Times theatre critic when I grow up. Would you really have hit me a moment ago?
The moment hasn't passed.
You're Humphrey Taylor, aren't you? The philosopher-poet. I've decided we're going to be friends. It's safer. Actually, Stewart says your poems have genius and that you're a real find. And who are you? Oh, I know. You're the American millionaire orphan, aren't you?
Well, I'm not a millionaire.
Yes, but everyone says you're quite rich. And if you're an orphan and an American, you'll need a friend. I'm your man.
Hey ho, Silver on the way!
Meet the poet, philosopher, and pugilist Humphrey Taylor. And this charming American chap who's almost a millionaire.
Martin Musgrove.
And this is Peter Wentworth, known as the Lone Ranger because of the way he lassos the ladies. Why didn't you come to the cinema last night, the Walt Disney sex romp? I hear there's a nude bathing scene in it, but I missed it. I was hanging around in the foyer waiting for you.
Sorry. I met up with some people.
Female people, I suppose? More than one female people?
There were two to begin with, but I whittled them down to one. Actually, I got the wrong one, as the one I whittled turned out to be the one I wanted, given the one I ended up with.
Not ghastly.
Ghastly.
Ghastly Erica. She keeps pestering me for a shag, I suppose she wants. But I keep putting her off because I haven't found out how to do it yet.
What's she like?
Very, very pretty. And completely ghastly. In fact, your usual type. Would you like to meet her?
I wouldn't mind.
Right. Come over for tea this afternoon, why don't you?
Thanks.
I heard that paper you gave. The one you read to the College History Society.
Really? What do you think?
There were one or two good things in it. Even some originality, I thought.
Thanks. The trouble is I kept getting interrupted before I'd finished. By this person and that. You know how it is. A pity, really. I'd like to have thought it through more thoroughly.
If you want to discuss it further, my rooms are just round the corner. New Court, C staircase.
Look, I'm anxious to acquire any information I can on this sex business. What I'm sure of at the moment is that I'm not queer. So I need to know that last night. What exactly did you do with her, that girl?
Oh, nothing special.
But you took her to bed?
Of course. What else could I do with her?
Well, how did you manage it?
Manage what?
How did you persuade her? That's what I need to know, you see. What sort of things does one say?
Well, I gave her a cup of tea and a biscuit and said, let's go to bed.
A cup of tea and a biscuit? Well, what was in the tea? Or was it in the biscuit? Come on.
So tell me more about this ghastly Erica.
Joan? Peter Whitworth here. I've got to come to London on Thursday, so, meet me at the usual place, the bar of the Charing Cross. What? What do you mean you can't? Engaged? Who the hell to? Anyway, what difference does that make? We could still... Oh, here's Erica and the kids come to say goodnight. So, see you then, Martin. Looking forward to it. Goodbye. Well, come on. Give us a kiss then, darlings.
Right, Nick.
All right, I'm brilliant. Quite brilliant.
also altered our attitudes to wildlife. It's here in the inner city that our relationships with wildlife have changed the most. Where at once we depended on the pigeon to sustain us through the winter, the descendants of those medieval dovecot birds now rely on us for food.
Oh.
Are you Stuart Thorne? I'm Dugan.
And I'm O'Leary.
This is for you. Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Be careful what you've got in your hands. It's a letter bolt. Right, thank you.
Oh, shit! Hello? Hello?
You sound very cross.
They've cut off the bloody electricity again.
Oh, my poor darling. I was just sitting here thinking of you in the tenderest way.
Were you? Are you all right?
I'm fine. Missing you.
Yes, good. Thank you. How's your new flatmate?
Not as sexy as you.
At least she pays the rent, I hope.
Why do you care about things like that? You know, my love, you know it's not important to me which of us pays our rent. I'd let you pay mine if things were the other way round.
They will be. I promise they will be. Just a matter of hanging on till next Thursday. What?
There are some letters for you. I'm sending them on.
Why don't you give them to me? We could see each other tomorrow.
No, we can't. Daddy phoned. He isn't well. I'll have to go down for a few days.
Oh. When shall I see you then?
I'll try and be back for Thursday.
Thursday. Love you.
Love you.
I don't know quite when I'll be back. First I'm having lunch with Martin at Lepicure. Remember Lepicure? To discuss my book, Sex Scandals in 19th Century Politics. Then masses of stuff to do at the British Museum. So we'll be back quite late. See you then. All of you.
The Arts Council? You mean those salaried buggers with their pensions to come? They think that Stewart is elitist?
That's what I hear. Well, let's face it, he is.
Yes, he is. He's counting on that bloody grant.
I bloody know that. I'll do my best to persuade them. From what I gather, I haven't got the slightest chance.
Nick, the phone.
Oh, thanks, Lynette. Won't be a moment.
How the hell do you get people to look after you like this?
I don't know. I think it must be my sheer lovability. Nick Finchling here. Oh, hello, Cynthia. How are you? Oh, you got Snakes and Ladders then, did you? What did you think of it? Vogue? Oh, that's wonderful, Cynthia. Wonderful. Lunch today with Vogue? Yes, of course I can make it. I'll bring along another copy. Oh, Christ. Slight problem. Does it matter? I mean, what would Vogue's attitude be if they find out it's on offer somewhere else? No, it's not very important. Oh, don't worry, I'll get it back.
I've got to be off. Don't want to make things worse by being late. So, hi-ho, Silver and away.
But I hear you're going to fold.
Hear from whom?
Well, hear from everyone, I'm afraid, my dear.
But that's just gossip. There's not the slightest chance the Common Pursuit is going to fold. At this very minute, the Arts Council are meeting. They're going to award us a proper grant at last. It'll more than cover the debts. Everything's fixed. I know that for a fact. Peter Wentworth is on the committee.
Peter Wentworth? Who's Peter Wentworth?
Oh, you've both met him. He's an old friend from Cambridge days. He teaches history at Oxford now. You remember him, don't you, Charlotte?
Is he the one that everyone calls the Lone Ranger?
Oh, yes. Very pretty wife.
Yes, Erica.
Very pretty, very pretty.
Very pretty, very pretty. Oh, God, you're such an old bore. That's all you ever notice about people. Very pretty, very pretty.
That's because I see so little of it around the house.
Anyway, he's on the committee, so our survival is guaranteed. Especially as I gave him copies of these to show them. I know I should have asked your permission first, but it'll really help clinch the case. Especially if you do let me publish them. Well? What do you say, Hubert?
You're a fool if you let him. It's going to fold.
Oh, hello. How long have you been here?
Oh, about 10 minutes.
The Lone Ranger, has he phoned?
No, but the ghastly Erica did.
What did she want?
Well, all I managed to extract that made sense was to remind him to pick up some curtain rods. So, how did you get on with Hubert Stout?
He's going to let me publish them.
Well, that's something to celebrate.
Yes, if I have a magazine to publish them in.
You will. That's why I'm here. Look, Stuart. I've decided to quit Hay Life and Forlings. It's been on my mind a long time now, but this month's list finally did it. Even the titles are ungrammatical. I've got a plan. I'd like to discuss it with you. You see...
Did Erica mention Peter's going to the Arts Council?
Well, no. As a matter of fact, she didn't. She seemed to think he was having lunch with me to discuss Hay Life and Forling publishing some ridiculous book he's writing on sex scandals or something. Obviously, just one of his alibis for coming to London.
Alibi? He doesn't need an alibi if he's going to the Arts Council. He must have forgotten it'll be some bloody woman he's coming up to see at the bloody Charing Cross Hotel, and there goes my grant. Without him, I haven't a hope. I could kill him, dead.
Well, if we told Erica about the Charing Cross Hotel, she'd kill him for us. But don't worry. You don't need the grant.
What? What do you mean?
That's the plan I wanted to discuss with you, Stuart. I'd like to offer you a partnership.
A partnership?
I'm going to set up as an independent publisher. I've always had the capital. Now I've got the experience. We'd be partners, you see. You would commission and edit the fiction and poetry. I'd do all the business side and any editorial hack work. I've learned an enormous amount at Hay Life and Forlings. I really have. I'm ready. I've got all the figures. It'll work. It really will. And the point is, we keep the common pursuit going as our subsidiary.
Our subsidiary?
Yes. And you can move back with Marigold, and the two of you could live, well, you know, like a couple at last. As I know you've always wanted to. Especially with a baby coming.
How do you know about that?
Oh, I had dinner with Marigold last week, the day after she found out she was expecting.
But we decided not to make it public. Until we'd made up our minds whether or not we wanted to have it.
She didn't mean to. But I was rabbiting on about Samantha, you see. About her being pregnant, because I was going to offer Marigold one of the litter. And, well, suddenly she just broke down and cried. And told me. Anyway, what do you think? I'll guarantee the magazine's survival.
You'll guarantee it?
Yes.
But I don't think I want it to survive as a subsidiary to something else, you see. It has to come first.
But you're broke. You couldn't bring out the last 2 issues. You owe money all over town. You're on the point of being evicted. Your only hope was the Arts Council grant. You can't survive, Stuart.
Yes, I can.
How?
As I've always survived. By borrowing, begging, blackmailing. The magazine's been through worse than this before in the past 8 years. Far worse.
But then you didn't have a baby coming. Stuart, it'll break her heart not to have it.
This room reeks of passion, in a famous phrase. What have you two been up to?
Nothing. We're waiting for Peter.
Even though he's almost certainly forgotten to come.
What makes you say that?
Well, you see, there's a possibility that Peter's only coming to London for one of his usual,
fucks.
Of course he is. He'd go anywhere and do anything for a fuck. Including even attending an Arts Council meeting on your behalf.
Yes, but he lied to Erica, you see, about why he was coming up to London. He told her he was coming to see me to discuss a book, which isn't true. Instead of saying he was going to the meeting, which would have been true, and the obvious lie to tell, because at least it would have been true, if he remembered it. If you follow?
Of course I follow. Merely because you can't speak properly doesn't mean I don't understand you. Generally, well before you're finished. I suppose you got all this from Erica, did you?
Well, not about coming for the poke.
The reason he lied to Erica is that it's simpler and less fatiguing than telling her the truth. Have you tried talking to that woman recently? A simple statement from you is followed by an imbecile question from her, and she doesn't stop until your statements have become as imbecile as her questions, in a ghastly parody of a Socratic dialogue. Then, as you sit there drained of energy, ideas, humanity, she changes a baby in front of you. Virtually all over you, in fact. Do you follow?
I think so. Yes. I believe Humphrey's got it right as usual.
Then why isn't he here? He's now actually late. Why hasn't he phoned?
Wait, thou child of hope. For time shall give thee all things, except a decent glass of wine. At least here, ever. This is simultaneously bland and acid. Is it English?
Of course not. It's French. It's a Chablis. Vintage, in fact, isn't it? At least that's what they told me.
How's Marigold? Still working at that infant's library?
She's taken a few days off to go down to Tunbridge Wells to see her mother, who's ill.
Your father?
Yes, that's right, her father.
Odd how Martin always seems to know more about your life than you do. I suppose because he takes a greater interest. Anyway, you're all right, are you? You two?
Which two?
You and Marigold.
As a matter of fact, she's pregnant. And we're going to be married.
Good.
Why?
I've always had the greatest admiration for Marigold, as you know.
Why? Because she's got a fine mind?
No, she hasn't. But when it comes to the things that matter, she's got a mind of her own, which is more important. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, to a vastly more passionate relationship. How's Samantha? Kindly confine your reply to 2 sentences.
Oh, she's pregnant? But we're not going to get married. What about you?
I'm not pregnant. I wouldn't dream of getting married, even if I were. No, my only news is that I've changed my accommodation at last. I've moved into your old rooms, as a matter of fact, Stuart. I always wanted them. Did you know that? Only that ridiculous northerner who lived above you took them over when he got his fellowship, so I'd given up hope. But the other day he committed suicide.
Christ.
Yes. Quite upsetting, isn't it? I mean, people we convert into a joke have an obligation not to do that sort of thing. He was a mathematical genius, apparently, but his creative juices dried up suddenly, as they tend to with mathematicians. They finish young. Actually, I'd always suspected he was rather short on personality. For all his bluster, he hasn't left a trace of a ghost behind. Even in the bedroom, where he did it with a razor. I'm not even going to bother to have it redecorated. The odd thing is, I feel that I'm where I always intended to be. And it must have come at exactly the right time, because this morning I rose at 6, walked twice around Great Court, and wrote the first 14.5 lines of my book on Wagner.
What's marvellous, Humpty?
Sounds like Nick. Pity.
Right, that does it. I'm giving up taxis. Why that shit of a driver took the corners? My bum skiddy, my stomach churning, my head pounding. God, I wish I'd thrown up all over the back of his neck. It was red with ginger hair on it.
Where were you coming from?
I don't know. Earl's Court, it looked like. That's where I think I ended up last night. After a publishing party. Couldn't stand it. First thing I saw when I strolled in was Harrop. Nappy's Harrop. Standing in a corner, shoulders hunched, light gleaming off his bald pate, wringing his hands and boasting shyly about his latest triumph. I should have guessed it. Little creepers everywhere these days. Wherever I go. First nights, private viewings, there he is. So I got some girl to pick me up, take me back to her place. At least I hope it was a girl. Had her back to me when I woke up. Had a girl's spine, smelt like a girl, but snoring like a man. So, it was either an Australian or a hermaphrodite. Or both. The haunting question is whether I poked it. I keep recalling a brief spasm during the night. I hope it was just my cough. Anyway, congratulations on the grant. Terrific.
What do you mean?
The Arts Council grant. Congratulations on getting it.
How do you know I've got it?
Lone Ranger told me, said it was in the bag.
When?
What?
When did he say it was in the bag?
Last night. He telephoned to say he was coming up to London to get you your grant. What about lunch afterwards, along with the rest of you? But actually, I can't make it. I've got to have lunch with Vogue. It's a nuisance, but there's no getting out of it, I'm afraid.
Vogue?
Yes, to discuss doing a series of articles on this and that. Don't know whether I'll be able to fit it in when it comes to it, but the point is, he said the grant was in the bag. That's the point.
That is aesthetically one of the least attractive ways of killing yourself, Nicholas. Why didn't you stop it?
Yes, well, I will. Well, gotta go. Love to the Lone Ranger. Sorry I missed him. Oh, Martin, I don't think I'd better take one of your kittens after all. For one thing, they turn into cats, and I'm less soppy about those. Also, I'm too young to settle down. See you soon, everyone. Oh, God. Almost forgot. Stuart. Snakes and Ladders.
What?
The article I sent you. Snakes and Ladders.
Ah, yes. Well, the fact is I haven't had a chance to read it properly yet. I've looked at it, of course, but I haven't...
Can I have it back for a while?
Certainly.
Not really happy with some sections of it. Especially a couple of pages about that woman novelist, for instance. I didn't know she was dying when I wrote it, don't forget. I'd like to be more delicate. Cut out the bit about her menstrual obsession, blood-soaked prose, etc. Get at some of the reviewers for not admiring her more. She's got that daughter, don't forget. Grieving friends. One myself, in a way. Any luck?
Can't find it. Can't you work from your own copy?
No. I can't. I destroyed it. Lost a bit of confidence in it, you see. Destroyed a lot of other stuff, too. Virtually my whole life's work. Threw it all in the fire, as a matter of fact. You know, I sometimes wonder whether you realise what an influence you are, Stuart. You've always been the reader over our shoulder, hasn't he? Any luck?
It's here somewhere.
I'm beginning to wonder whether I'm really cut out for a career in literature. I find writing even more of a chore than sex. And a lot of people one meets are even worse. Actually, I wish I were a simple rural vicar, riding about among my parishioners on my bike, my dog running behind my rear wheel, my wife at home with the children, and a little bit of faith to keep me going. Do want a private income, too. 2 private incomes. Well...
What I can't work out is why.
Why what?
Why you're lying, Nicholas. Your motive. Or are you just keeping in practice?
You don't think by any chance, well, he sold Snakes and Ladders? To someone else, I mean.
Vogue, of course.
What?
Nicholas has sold it to Vogue. Well done, Martin.
Yes, well, actually, what happened is I sent a copy to my agent.
The ashes of your copy, you mean? You burnt your copy, remember? Along with the rest of your life's work?
Yes. Well, and Cynthia showed it to Vogue. Without my consent, naturally. And it turns out that Vogue were thinking of doing a piece along those lines, so they snapped it up.
So that's why you want my copy back, is it?
Well, Cynthia says she doesn't like the thought of it being offered to 2 different magazines at the same time. She thinks it's unethical. And quite frankly, I agree with her. Perhaps. But bloody hell, I'm a professional literary journalist. I live by what I sell. And you didn't even bother to acknowledge receiving it, let alone let me know what you thought of it. Do you realise it's been 6 years since you last asked me to contribute something? And the fact is, it could lie rotting away on your desk forever. The magazine's failed to come out twice running now. And there's a decent chance it'll never come out again.
A decent chance, is it?
According to Peter.
But Peter told you it was in the bag.
That was last night on the phone. But this morning...
This morning?
Yes, this morning. We met for a cup of coffee on his way to the Arts Council.
But you were on your way from an Australian or an hermaphrodite in Earl's Court this morning.
Whom you either poked or coughed into?
Ah. Yes, well, that must have been yesterday morning. In fact, it sounds like all my yesterday mornings recently. Except for tomorrow, because tomorrow I will have had coffee with Peter yesterday, won't I?
Come on, Nick, just tell us the truth. What did Peter actually say?
Yes, well, apparently, the whole Arts Council panel virtually thinks you're elitist.
Elitist?
He's going to do his best, but he reckons you haven't got a chance. But knowing you, you'll struggle on for years editing a magazine that never comes out at all, and I'll have missed the opportunity of getting in with Vogue. And I need it. Can I have the article, please?
Actually, no, you can't. I must have accidentally stuck it in with the material I sent to the Lone Ranger to show the Arts Council, so it was probably sitting in his briefcase while you were having coffee with him. Don't worry, Nick. I shan't publish it. Truth is, I've been wondering how to return it without hurting you. All you had to do was say straight out that Vogue wanted it, did I mind? I'd have been delighted. It's perfect for Vogue, just as it stands. But I don't think it could ever be good enough for the common pursuit.
Yes, well, they're right. You are elitist.
Well, somebody's got to be, haven't they? Especially at a time when no one else wants to be.
Yes, but they don't want you to be either, do they? They're not interested in your high critical standards and intellectual rigour and traditional poetic forms. In fact, they don't want the common pursuit. The magazine's finished, Stuart. Why don't you face it and come into the real world at last?
Where is the real world, Nicholas? Somewhere amongst the lingerie and perfume ads in vogue?
Yes, well, you're exactly like Stuart, aren't you, Humpty? You can't face the facts about yourself either, can you?
Well, come on then, Nicholas. Help me face the facts about myself. Say them to me, the facts.
Marigold.
Marigold.
Hello, chaps. Humpty, I didn't know you were coming down.
Hi, Marigold.
Nicholas?
How's your mother?
My mother? She's been dead for 4 years.
I'm terribly sorry. I meant your father, of course.
They've discovered he's got a bad heart. So that means he'll have to give up all the things he really lives for. Scotch, cigarettes, and his furtive little forays up to the dirty bookshops. To balance that, he's got to give up his job. But he won't mind that, as he's always hated it.
He's a doctor, isn't he?
No, a vicar.
Oh, well then, Nicholas, you should meet him. Nicholas was just saying a moment ago that he was thinking of going into the church. Weren't you, Nicholas? He has some of the right qualifications. He lies badly about things that don't matter.
What have you been up to this time?
Go on, Nicholas. Tell her.
Sorry, I've got to go. Late. See you all then. Look. Sorry.
What's he done?
Merely withdrawn his unwanted article on inconsequential literary figures of our time.
Good to hear about the baby. Doesn't mean you have to marry him, you know.
Thank you.
Yes, well, I decided to make it official, as word seems to be getting round anyway.
Oh. Where's our Lone Ranger? Thought he was meant to be here by now.
We think he may not make it, but it doesn't matter as he sent a message via Nick. We're not getting our grant on the grounds that we're elitist.
To the great British public, we point our arses. Here's some shit exploding in your faces.
Elitist? You're not seriously talking of giving up. Not now. You can't. He can't, can he?
Oh, yes, I can.
But it's not fair. After 8 years, it's actually not fair. Oh, Humpty, please tell him.
I'm sorry, but it is fair. Even if Stuart gets the grant, he'll be having a version of this conversation a baby or two from now.
You don't know everything. You don't always know everything. Can I... Look, do you mind if I talk to Stuart?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It just slipped out.
Humpty, I'm sorry. You're doing it because of the baby, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
I don't believe you. What would you have done if there hadn't been a baby? You'd have gone on. You know you would.
If so, it would only have been out of habit.
Look, you've talked about facts. Well, you're the only fact in my life. You know you are. From the first moment we started, you and the magazine came together. I've not just accepted that, it's how I want things to be. How I want you to be. To go on being. You won't be you without it. Oh, please, my love, please. You mustn't give up. You mustn't.
I've got to get up. I know now what it is I've always wanted. You. And you.
I've had an abortion.
Hi-ho, Silver! And away! Sorry I'm late. Had to stop off and buy some bloody curtain rods, can you believe it? Promised Erica. Anyway, I've got your grant in spades. They've undertaken to guarantee all your costs, clear all your outstanding debts, pay your rent, and provide you with a salary that will lift you into our lowest income tax bracket. And I did it all on my silver tongue and a handful of poems.
Hubert's?
No, those Belfast hooligans, Leary and
Dugan? Actually, it's Dugan and O'Leary.
Yes, they adore them for their directness, their simplicity, their brutal rhythms and vocabulary, their sing-song...
Lack of talent. They're in the bundle with Nick, so I was going to send them back.
Oh, you mustn't. As far as they're concerned, that poem about shit exploding in our faces made up for all the Hubert Stouts, which they wouldn't even let me read out on the grounds that they were
poems.
Exactly. For God's sake, hang on to Nick's piece, too. They absolutely adored Snakes and Ladders. All that revolting stuff about women novelists and menstruation had them falling about. Anyway, the thing is, you're off and running.
Peter, thank you.
No, I enjoyed it. I mean, what could be nicer than paying out large sums of taxpayers' money to one's chums? But, God, you look ravishing, and I haven't kissed you yet. But distraught. Are you distraught?
No, perfectly, traught. Thanks.
Terrific. Oh, do you mind if I use the phone? Somebody's waiting on my call. Oh, by the way, Humpty was up in Oxford the other evening to give a paper. Very short one, I heard afterwards. But he came over for dinner. Very relaxed and charming. Anyway, for Humpty. But then Erica always brings out the best in him. They seem to have a rapport. Partly because she doesn't think much of his intellect. Just goes on being herself. Gets him to help with the children. Changes the baby, that sort of thing. He loves it, really. Joan, hello. What? Yes, I know, that's what I said. Jean. So, hello, Jean. Sorry, I'm running a bit late. Look, did we arrange where we'd meet? I can't remember. Oh, the Charing Cross Hotel, really? Well, why not? Sounds like a perfectly reasonable place. So, I'll see you in the bar in, 8.5 minutes. Looking forward to it enormously, Joan. Jean. Well, I'd better be on my way. Oh, has Erica phoned?
Yes, she thought you were having lunch with Martin.
Oh, Christ. Did you say I'm not?
No.
Oh, that's all right then. Thanks. What did she want?
To remind you to pick up the curtain rods.
Well, if she phones again, tell her the order came in, but they're the wrong size. Probably have to spend the whole bloody afternoon shopping around for them. That should cover me. What they call tit for tat. Not that the common pursuit's tat, but I'm after tit.
So I've been saved then, haven't I? Just in the nick of time. So maybe there is a God after all.
The Arts Council, you mean? More like a devil, I suspect. And I'm not tempted.
You're not going to accept the grant, then?
Of course not.
No. Oh, why? Why are you so obstinate?
I've already told you. I love you, and we're going to be married and have babies. Lots of babies. Lots and lots of babies.
How will we afford that?
I'm going to go in with Martin, be his partner. And all the babies you want we'll have, and more. Far more.
Oh, my love.
Hello, Hubert. What?
have you been? I've been waiting for you for days and days and days.
But Charlotte said you weren't allowed to see anybody.
She's a bloody liar, a bloody cheat, and a bloody thief. She's often, desperate to get her hands on them.
What?
My poems, my 8 new poems, written especially for you, for the common pursuit.
But the common pursuit...
Anybody watching us? She has them watching me all the time,
No, there's nobody watching us.
Hey, quick, under the mattress here, come on. Quick. Yes, one of them's in Tetzerima. I've never worked in Tetzerima before. Suddenly, I find myself at the height of my powers. The height. What do you think? What do you think? You're my editor, aren't you? Tell me what you think.
Mrs. Thorne, would you like to come through now, please?
Thank you.
Just wanted to let you know that Erica's going to be coming down this afternoon too, so there'll be one extra for dinner. I hope that's all right. Lovely. So we'll meet up at your office around 6:30, 7 sort of time, shall we? Sorry, Martin. Can't stop to gas now, or I'll miss my train. See you then. Well, there you are then, darling. That's all fixed. So, see you in London.
Christ!
You look awful.
I feel awful.
Why don't you eat something?
Because I throw up.
It really matters this much to you, does it? A job like that?
I think I'd actually die if I don't get it and Nappies does.
At the rate you're going, you're going to die whichever one of you gets it.
The trouble with you, Humphrey, is you don't know what it's like to have ambition.
Yes. Aren't I the lucky one? Get out of my way, please. I said, get out of my way.
Hi. Humpty. Want a drink?
A small brandy to settle the stomach. It always tends to be a bit queasy after lunch with Nick.
I've only got a classical French one, I'm afraid. Will that do?
Where's Stuart?
At the printer's.
Ah. And how's Marigold?
She's applied to be chief librarian at Birkbeck College. In fact, she's at her interview now. Where are you off to, by the way?
Oh, to see my parents.
They're still in decent fettle, I hope?
Well, it's my father's 75th birthday tomorrow, but he's okay, thank you. And I've brought along a sweater, which I cut a hole in for my mother to darn, so she'll be okay, too. I've also brought along a book inscribed to me by Edwina McCluskey on Plato, which they won't understand, which is probably just as well, as it's mainly wrong. But it will support my boast that Edwina and I are having an affair.
But surely she's getting on a bit, isn't she? Edwina McCluskey?
She's 74, but my parents don't know that. And I hope they don't find out. They might think there's something wrong with me. All they suspect is that she's an older woman, which worries them a little, which is exactly the right amount for parents of their age, with a son of my type. And they'll be reassured by the news that I've been appointed the college's senior moral tutor. Did we ever bump into one of those in our day? Apparently their job is to advise us on all our little problems, financial and especially emotional. Sort of uncle figure with a cutting edge. I'm certainly the first senior moral tutor I've ever come across.
But you'll enjoy it, won't you?
I'm afraid I probably will. Well, Martin?
How's the brandy?
I hadn't noticed. Probably a good sign. Come on, then. What do you want?
Why do you think I want something?
Well, because when you phoned to ask me when I was next coming down and I said today, you said, good, please come and see us. But as you didn't say that Stuart wouldn't be here, it must be something you want, but don't want Stuart to know about.
I sometimes wonder whether you enjoy knowing so much. Yes. Have you committed your book on Wagner to a publisher?
No.
Would you commit it to me?
What? To make up one of your coffee table specials?
No. It could be as long as you like. Have no illustrations at all if you prefer. 2, 3, even 4 volumes. 3, anyway.
Have you discussed this with Stuart?
No.
Why not?
I want it to be a surprise. He'd be your editor, you see. Would you like that?
Yes. But the slight drawback from all our points of view is that I'm not writing a book on Wagner. I've given it up.
You mustn't, Humpty. You mustn't give it up.
Yes, I must. You see, I've discovered I do have a slight flaw, after all. Moral, I think, rather than intellectual. I diminish what I most admire. There. I don't think I can be simpler, even for you.
But mightn't it help if you published something? What about a monograph? If not on Wagner, then somebody else. What about our publishing your fellowship dissertation?
It's on 19th century metaphysics, Martin. In German, mostly.
I'm being selfish, I'm sorry.
You're being selfish for Stuart, as usual. I'm sorry. I expect it's all far harder for you than it is for me.
No. Actually, I'm very happy. Really. If that's what you mean. Although you're right, I sometimes don't know what you mean. Being simple.
He doesn't know, then?
Know what?
Don't be alarmed. It's not my business.
Thank you.
Our lives aren't dissimilar, you know, in spite of appearances. And reality, come to that. Can I give you some advice?
No. Really, Humpty, thanks. I respect you far too much, and I might listen to it, you see. And then I'd have nothing. Nothing I want, anyway.
Oh, Nick. He said he'd look in if he got that job.
Christ, did you ever get your bloody stairs swept? Humpty, how are you? It's been ages. Well, here you are, as promised. 2 weeks of exhaustion, and only a month overdue. About 45,000 words. I worked it out on the train, which is only 15,000 fewer than we agreed. So, if we had an extra dozen pictures.
What's it on?
The great religious leaders of world history. Muhammad, Buddha, Jesus. You probably think I skimped a bit on Jesus. Just 5 pages or so, as a matter of fact. But then, let's face it, he's being overdone at the moment. He's always being overdone, in fact. But I'll pad him out if you think it necessary. And there's a whole chapter on Wagner in the myth creator section, out of deference to you. You're in the acknowledgements and the index, Humpty.
Thank you. Why'd you do it?
What?
Go on turning out books like this.
Because I've got 4 children, what do you think?
Even with the pictures, I've got a feeling 45,000 might be a trifle on the short side.
Yes. Yes. But the really crucial question is whether Erica and I can have dinner with you tonight, preferably at your place.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't tonight. I've already accepted an invitation I can't possibly get out of.
Oh, Christ. Erica's made arrangements for a babysitter, especially so we can have dinner with you.
What dinner? We never discussed any dinner.
He means you're his alibi, and it's all gone wrong at last.
Exactly. I told her I was having dinner with you and that I'd probably stay overnight in one of your extra rooms, as usual. But then just as I was leaving, she took it into her head for the first time ever, that she wanted to come too. Shut up, Humpty.
Tell her you got the wrong day. Or I did.
I can't.
Why not?
Because she made me phone you to warn you there'd be one extra for dinner.
But you didn't phone me.
No, of course I didn't phone you. You shut up, Humpty. No, of course I didn't phone you, but I had to pretend to. I was phoning somebody entirely different, of course.
Oh, who?
Jane.
Jane?
The girl he'd actually arranged to have dinner with, of course.
Of course. So I had to sit there trying to talk to Jane, with Erica at my elbow thinking I was talking to you and hoping Jane would understand my saying that Erica was coming to dinner too meant that my dinner with her was off.
And did she?
No, because as it turned out, I wasn't talking to Jane at all. I must have been talking to her mother-in-law. So Jane's probably already in London, still thinking we're going to have a night together at the Charing Cross Hotel.
So the mother-in-law of the girl you're spending the night with in London is expecting you for dinner with Erica in Oxford. Can that be right?
Don't be ridiculous, Martin. The mother-in-law hadn't the slightest idea who I was, so she doesn't know who to expect for dinner tonight, does she? So it doesn't matter. What matters is what am I going to do about Erica? And Jane, come to that.
Who is Jane exactly?
Oh, nobody. Just the wife of a friend.
Anyone we know?
No, his name's Papworth. Roland Papworth. Theologian at New College. But what...
And does he know what you're up to?
What?
Does this Roland Papworth know what you're up to with his wife, Jane?
No, of course he doesn't. I wouldn't hurt old Roland for the world. He and I have become extremely close. He gave me an enormous amount of help with great religious leaders, for one thing. He's particularly strong on Buddha. But look...
You don't mean he wrote it?
What?
This Roland Papworth, the theologian. Did he write it? Your book, I mean. I need to know because of copyright.
No, of course he didn't write it. He merely filled in a bit of the history. Background, ideas, that sort of thing. And the Buddha bits. But I did most of the last draft. Of course, he's probably expecting his name on the title page and he'll want to share the royalties. Can't you really get out of this dinner tonight?
But there aren't any royalties. You get paid a fee, half of which you've already received, you see.
For God's sake, will you stop worrying? I'll think of some way of sharing something with him.
Apart from his wife, you mean?
What?
I suppose Jane is good in bed, is she?
Yes, well, that's not the point at the moment. The point is Erica. I don't want her to start getting suspicious after all these years.
But does that matter?
Does it matter? She'd crack up completely. We've got 4 bloody children. Do you think I don't care?
I know you don't care. About anything that matters.
What do you mean?
Haven't I made myself plain, even to you, that you go on spawning children and pretending to love a fatuous wife that you can't even be bothered to betray competently, while writing books on subjects you inevitably demean?
What did you say that for? What did you have to say it for?
Because I've just been made the college's senior moral tutor. It's our job to help people see their little tangles more clearly.
But I've been a senior fucking moral what's-it for years. I don't go around insulting my friends and inviting them to hit me.
Yes, that's because you've moved to Oxford. You've forgotten how seriously we take moral matters in Cambridge. Well, I must be on my way, if I'm going to just miss my train and enjoy an hour and a half hanging around the gentlemen's lavatories. I suppose I'm sorry.
You all right?
Yes. But why did he? I should have hit Humpty of all people. Why did he?
I think, well, because he's so fond of you. Fonder than of anyone else.
But I can't spend my life being what he needs me to be, can I?
No. You have to make your own life.
I'd better get to the Charing Cross Hotel. Perhaps Jane will be there early and I'll have time to explain and get back here before Erica shows up.
Erica's coming here.
Of course! Of course. This is where she thinks we're all meeting at 6:30. So I know. Tell her
I probably won't be here at 6:30.
Well, then leave a note on the door explaining that you messed up and got the days wrong, and that I'll meet her at the bar of the Charing Cross Hotel at 7:30. I must really get going. Christ, did I really say the Charing Cross Hotel? I must be mad. Make it,
Peter!
Stuart, hello.
I didn't know you were coming here today.
No, well, actually, the pity is I'm just off. There are a few complications. Martin will tell you all about them. All about everything else, too, I expect. I must really dash.
Love to, Erica.
Absolutely. And to Marigold. Make it the Waldorf, the bar at the Waldorf.
The bar at the Waldorf, right.
What's going on?
Oh, just one of Peter's messes, but a bit worse than usual. He wanted me to have dinner with him, but I managed to fob him off. I mean, we wouldn't really want Peter and Erica tagging along with us tonight, would we? So how was it at the printers?
Yes, well, I didn't go, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Oh. Well, don't worry. I'll look after it first thing in the morning. Where did you go?
To see Hubert Stout.
I thought Charlotte said nobody should see him.
Yes, well, I went anyway.
How is he?
In full creative flow.
That's wonderful. You know, perhaps you could persuade him to let us do an edition.
He's mad. Charlotte was quite right. I wish I hadn't been.
It's upset you, hasn't it? Look, I know it sounds inadequate, but why don't we go somewhere special? I'll book a table at Le Picure. Marigold loves it.
Martin, I want to quit. Sorry, I didn't mean to blurt it out like that.
But you can't quit.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, you're our poetry and fiction editor. I can't manage without you.
Yes, you can, and we both know it. We never put out more than 3 novels a year, and really they're just a gift from you to me. At least nobody but me seems to like them much. Not enough to buy them, anyway. And as for poetry, a few token volumes, which I suspect nobody ever reads, let alone buys, so really, just another gift from you to me. Part, of course, from Leary and O'Dugan, Dugan and O'Leary, whose shit is still exploding in our faces, though at least at a profit.
You should have let me keep the Common Pursuit going. I told you you needed it.
The Common Pursuit has nothing to do with it. Come on, Martin, you know why I came in with you as well as I do. To have children comfortably at your expense. And there's a lot wrong with that on any terms. But especially if I can't produce any children to justify it. Justify it at least partially.
But you will. Why shouldn't you? After all, Marigold's been pregnant once.
Yes. Well, that must have been during my palmy period. Since then, I've become sterile. These days, I produce a mere 1,000,000 sperm when only 100 million or so will do. The effect of this news has been to render me impotent as well, by the way. Though that's likely to be just a passing phase. As soon as I stop worrying about being sterile, I'll probably become potent again. So they tell me.
I'm terribly sorry. I am terribly sorry, but I beg you not to make a decision about quitting yet.
I've already made it. And it'll be better for you too, you know, Martin. It really will. You can't go on just being part of a trio, living for other people. You need to be your own person at last, Martin. You really do. It's time you were free of us.
Hello, you both. Looking very somber. Anything the matter?
Not at all. We were just speculating on your career prospects, as a matter of fact.
Yes, how did it go, the interview?
It was all right, I suppose. There were 4 of them. 3 heads of department and the outgoing chief librarian. They were quite friendly. They asked the obvious questions. Which indexing system I preferred, how I thought we should redeploy our financial resources, my views on free access and censorship, the usual sort of thing. Don't really want this. Still too early to eat, I suppose. Where are we going to dinner?
You all right?
Yes, fine. Fine, just a mite peckish from nerves, probably, that's all.
Well, why don't we go somewhere special? What do you say to Lepicure?
Lovely. Your favourite?
Yes. But actually, I won't be joining you, I'm afraid.
Oh, why not?
Oh, because, well, Peter has involved me in one of his alibis, and before I knew what was happening, I found myself having to have dinner with him and someone called Jane Papworth. Or is it him and Eric I'm having dinner with anyway? I'd better get a move on if I'm going to make it in time, so I'll leave you to close up. Good night.
Don't go.
Darling, what is it? Has something happened?
I'm sorry. I seem to need this after all. I'm sorry. Sorry. I didn't go to the interview. I went to... You see, Martin and I, we've been having an affair.
Yes. I've had a feeling, a kind of thought in the back of my mind. How long's it been going on?
Why are you doing this?
Because I've just discovered I'm pregnant.
Of course. And you wanted to tell the husband and the father in the same breath, so to speak. Well, congratulations.
Hey, ho, Silver,
This is a mistake. Cynthia gets them free on Concord, and she dishes them out as school prizes when we've done well, so you'll gather the answer is yes. I'm about to be the presenter of the new BBC Books programme, and therefore a television star. You shall have the first kiss from a celebrity, being my all-time favourite lady, my first real love. I, your chevalier. Before I break the bad news. Nappy's got the job too. We're going to be co-bloody presenting. Can you believe it? Something the matter? Death been announced or something?
Nick, do you think you could go?
You want me to go?
Yes, Nick, please.
Right then.
Yes. Oh, hello, Erica. No, he's not, I'm afraid. Yes, he is. Erica's babysitter's let her down, so she won't be able to join you and Peter for dinner tonight. She's sorry if she's caused any problems. Right, he's got that. Very well, thank you. Yes, and Marigold. But, Erica, I really can't talk now. We're in a rather important meeting with an author. See you soon. Bye.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I never wanted anyone else in my life. From the first moment I saw her. I've never loved anyone else. Apart from you. So I'm sorry I've caused you hurt is what I meant. Of all people. If it was yours, I would have loved it. But as it's mine...
Shut up! Shut up! I haven't got your capacity for decency, loyalty, etc. As it's yours, I want to kill it. And you. And you, as a matter of fact. I've no intention of letting you go. I love you far too much. And we've spent so many years. Many years.
Oh, my love. Oh, my love.
Hey, you! You! Get off the grass!
It's all right, Thompson. He's with me.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Taylor. Sorry.
Welcome.
Yes, I like it. At least I like half of it. Yep. No, hello, Martin. How are you? Oh, God.
When we say of somebody that has just died in tragic circumstances, that he was our friend, we don't think of the specific acts of friendship, or the, until then, many small, unremembered kindnesses. We think instead of something whole, that unique and individual spirit that has been taken from us when we were least prepared for it. So all the usual phrases come tumbling out. He was a remarkable man. He might have been a great man if life had given him the chance. And, of course, life will never be the same without him. All these, I think, are true. But of this particular friend, there are many other things to say. Such painful, loving things, that all usual consoling clichés seem to turn to dust and ashes in our mouth, even as we speak them. We all knew, all his friends knew, that though he gave us so much joy, his was an unhappy life. And what marred it was his greatest virtue, his sense of personal honor, and his intellectual rigor. He was desolated by them.
I suppose we should have a memorial lunch or something.
Can't. I promised Jane I'd be home by 3. The ghastly Erica's dumping the kids on us for the weekend. It's sheer malice. She's got nothing better to do than look after them, which is all she's ever been up to anyway. And Jane can't dump her lot on bloody Papworth as he's away at some theological conference, giving his now famous lecture about me, Judas as adulterer. I sometimes think I should get a cut of his fees.
Can't either, I'm afraid. I've got to be in London for a celebration. Nappies. Now they've made the cover of the Radio Times, he's decided to quit the programme. He's going to be Sunday Times theatre critic. Apparently they're impressed with his lack of qualifications.
Can I ask you one thing about my son? It's the sock. Yes, the sock, you see. I don't understand about the sock.
That's all he was wearing, apparently, when I found him. I had a feeling you'd be here.
The plane was delayed. I got here too late for the service, so I thought I'd just come and...
Quite. Let's have a drink. You must need one. There's some port.
That'll do.
So, what were you doing in New York?
Oh, peddling my biography of Hubert Stout. A lot of lectures, interviews, all that.
It's a very good book, of course.
Thank you. How's Marigold?
She's fine. She couldn't make the service. Our au pair has just left, so she had to look after the twins.
And they're all right, are they?
Yes. Yes. Just beginning to walk. Humpty, eh?
Yes, Humpty. It happened in here, did it?
Hmm?
Humphrey's murder.
Yes, in here.
My old rooms, in fact.
So there were.
Sorry, we're late. We've just been talking to Hubert Stout.
Hubert Stout? You mean to say that while we've been seething passionately away in here, close to fisticuffs from time to time, you two have been calmly having it off with Hubert Stout?
He was terribly interested in the idea of the magazine, wasn't he, Stuart?
One day I might even get him to write something for us. Oh, Marigold, have you been introduced to Humphrey Taylor, who sent me in the poems I told you about?
Hey, look, instead of a theatre page, why don't we have a sex page? And we can publish pictures of the Lone Ranger having it off with ghastly Erica. If I choose to introduce them.
I thought this was going to be serious.
Yes. Oh, of course, you've met, I'm terribly sorry.
Martin Musgrove.
Who's offered to take over all the advertising business, etc.
All the really boring stuff, in fact, is my level.
Right. Let's begin then, shall we?